they spend a lot of time watching college basketball, breaking down the analytics of it. So with me today, I have Austin. How's it going, Austin?
Good. How about yourself?
Good.
A little bit about
Tell me
me.
about your whole thing with college basketball. Why are you into it more than NBA?
Yeah. So I'm a lifelong Kentucky fan, born and raised. Go Cats! And so my entire childhood and now into adulthood has just been living and breathing Kentucky basketball. And then obviously with that just comes watching all college basketball. So I'd uh I'd call myself a self-proclaimed ball watcher.
There you go. Also, we have Eric.
Hey, how's it going?
Austin's friend. So, same question. What got you into more college basketball?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's just the atmosphere between that and the NBA. But unfortunately, I'm a Gopher fan, so I don't have the same luxury of success as Austin. So every week, I kind of find myself having different favorite teams depending who I'm betting on. So follow it pretty closely. Pretty much watch every night in the winter. So I'm ready for the tournament.
So you got the ESPN quad box going.
Yes. Luckily, Comcast came through with the quad box this year, so I took advantage of that quite a bit.
Well, that's good news. Good news. All right. Well, I guess get right into it. We're going to kind of break down each section of the bracket, and then we'll kind of talk about which games are probably pretty good to bet on, which teams we kind of feel like are overseeded, and which players to watch out for, and maybe some teams that can make a run. So first side of the bracket, Duke, number 1 seed this year. They went 33-2, won the ACC and the ACC tournament in the East. UConn, number 2 seed in the East, 29-5, came second in the Big East, and ended up actually losing the Big East tournament to St. John's. Michigan State, the 3 seed in the East, 25-7, came in 3rd place in the Big Ten regular season, and lost to UCLA in the quarterfinals. And then the 4 seed Kansas, 23-10, 4th in the Big 12, lost to Houston in the semifinals. Which games do you kind of see as kind of a surprise coming out of the East?
So one of the games I've circled is USF versus Louisville. I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody, but I think that's a game that USF can take. And reasons being, shooting guard Wes Ennis and small forward Joseph Pinion, they're both shooting over 36% from 3 this season. And that's not like these guys just hit shots here and there. They're taking a lot of shots. Both are almost at about 300 3-point attempts, and shooting that high of a percentage is impressive. This is a team with Brian Hodgson, head coach, brought in 8 transfers this year. So there were some doubts going into the season, like, is this going to work? Is this team going to gel? And they've really been figuring things out. So that guard play and that wing play with the shooting ability paired up with them being 7th in offensive rebounds on KenPom, I think Louisville's in for a rude awakening. And not to mention, there's some uncertainty with Louisville's point guard, Mikal Brown. He's been dealing with a back injury recently, and they don't really know or have like a real timetable on when he's going to come back or if he's going to come back at all. He's their best player on Louisville, and if they don't have him, they're in for a rude awakening. They just asked him this past week at the ACC tournament, like, when do you think you're going to be back? Like, do you have any idea of like how things are progressing with your injury? And his answer was, I'm just focused on rehabbing right now. So he might already have his sights set on the draft and just not even be thinking about playing in this tournament.
So Big 11 over 6 seed. So we're not really seeing the 5-12, I guess, in this side.
No, 5-12 St. John's. I mean, Northern Iowa, it's a good story seeing them get in, but that they're not beating Rick Pitino at St. John's.
Yeah, so going back to USF and Louisville, so I would put this one on our agree board where we agree here. So I mean, this is an extremely high variance game. Louisville, I mean, they're going to chuck a ton of threes. It's going to be fast paced. Both teams in the top 25 tempo. So this is going to be up and down. And yeah, you're right. I don't think Michael Brown plays in this game based on what Kelsey's been saying. And without him, I mean, their best player then is Ryan Conwell. And I can't get over that game last year in the tournament against Illinois, where he just put up a total dud at Xavier. So he didn't show up at all. I don't trust this team at all. Pat Kelsey in March has really shown nothing in the past years. And there's just been too many games I've watched Louisville this year. The shot clock's running down, and they're just standing there beyond the 3-point line. There's no ball movement. The analytics love this team, but I don't see it at all. I think USF has a really good chance to win this game. One player to watch in this game is Isaiah Nelson on USF. 7 foot down low, really versatile player. Really good on the offensive glass. Fantastic on defense. I think he'll be able to give them some rim protection. So I agree. Money lines were definitely worth a play here. Really down on this Louisville team.
Yeah, USF plus 190. Cash it. That's free money.
High variance. That's definitely worth the play.
The Ohio State TCU game kind of interests me because Ohio State, they go on and off. They're pretty hot towards the end of the year. I know TCU has been cruising. How do you guys see that one turning out?
I have TCU taking that game. I mean, these teams really aren't that far off of each other. And going into this tournament, I'm valuing Big Ten teams over Big 12 teams over Big Ten teams. I just think Big 12 is a harder conference. It's deeper. Big Ten can at times be pretty top heavy. At the beginning of the season, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Big Ten's the best conference this year," and a lot of those teams kind of fizzled out or started showing like real weaknesses coming into the tournament. So I'm taking TCU that game all day.
Yeah, this game I really have no clue. Ohio State surged down the stretch. They finally found their 3-point shot, but it was against some pretty bad teams. TCU on the other hand, they kind of struggled in the middle of Big 12 play, but early on in the season, I mean, they matched up against Michigan. They lost by 4. They beat a couple other top 25 teams. So TCU is very, very polarizing. They're a very good big game team, but when they play some of these average opponents, they don't show up. So not 100% sure what to expect here. I think I lean to Ohio State. Just from free throws alone, they're 77% at the line. An interesting stat I saw the other day: teams that shoot over 75% in the first round in the last 20 years, I think they're 160 against the spread. So really good success if you're knocking down your free throws in March. And I don't know, this TCU team is just too inconsistent for me. If they do get by, I think they can play with the 1 in this region, but I think Ohio State is just deeper here, and they're playing better right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I got TCU winning, man. Defense wins that game. 22 in the country in defensive rating. I think they can shut down what Ohio State has going with their little hot streak.
Yeah, I don't love either team, but we'll see.
One of the games that really interests me is the UCLA UCF. I know UCLA, their 2 best players got hurt during the Big Ten tournament. Part of the reason why they lost. How do you guys see that one coming out? I heard both of them are going to be able to play, or they're planning on playing. I don't know if they're 100%, but
yeah. So Bilodeau and Dent coming back, like I don't know if they're 100%. I mean, if they're not, the team's obviously not going to come out and say that. I don't know, like how many minutes are these two going to be playing? I'm sure they're going to be playing a lot, but how effective are they going to be? Are they going to be playing through an injury? Are they fully back healthy. Like, what's going on? I don't know. So that makes me a little skeptical of UCLA. And also, uh, UCF is a freakishly athletic team, and they can keep up with UCLA in that regard. And I think their athleticism could easily win them this game, especially if Dent and Bilodeau aren't 100%. And just Mick Cronin is just a serial loser. I hate that guy.
Yeah, Cronin was not happy about having to go back to Philly. They do seem to get screwed every year in the tournament. They're always going to the East Coast. So I do have some sympathy for him there. But I'm going to disagree. I would put this on our disagree board. I think UCF is just the absolutely most overseeded team in this entire tournament. I know UCLA is banged up, but I think I could play point guard and beat this team. Dent's a good player, but I don't think they need him for this game. Bilodeau is a much bigger piece. I think they'll get him back. He seems healthy. I think the biggest X factor here is Eric Daly on UCLA. He's a real versatile forward. He can stretch the court for them. He can hit some shots. So he really gives them some height at that position. And I think he's going to be enough to carry them over, even without Dent and Bilodeau fully healthy. So I think UCLA rolls in this game. Cronin's usually pretty buttoned up for the first game in March. Second round's where they could run into some trouble when they have to play UConn and Philly. But I think this UCF team is really a fraud.
Hey, man. Watch out for John Bull.
John Bull.
7'2" sophomore. He's going to be blocking shots. He's going to be getting to the glass, eating boards.
We'll see. I don't think he can handle Bilodeau out on the perimeter, but we'll see.
In this NIL area, I feel like there's not ever going to be Cinderellas. So I would say anything 5 or below is kind of a Cinderella. So do you see anybody making a run maybe to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8? That's kind of one of those lower, under 5 or lower.
Yeah, so I have South Florida going to the Sweet 16. So obviously, like we said, beating Louisville, that's cake. Then Michigan State should win against North Dakota State. So then you're going to get that round of 32 matchup between South Florida and Michigan State. And I think South Florida just has too much talent this year. Michigan State, it's your stereotypical Izzo team. They're going to play smart. They're going to play slow. They're going to want to control the tempo. And that's just not what South Florida does. And they don't allow teams to do that. And I think that's just a game South Florida's built to win. So I have them beating Michigan State in the round of 32 and then going on to the Sweet 16. But then that's where it ends. I think Dan Hurley's going to come with UConn and he's going to have a fire lit under his ass and really just go after everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of chalk in this region. Maybe St. John's can get by Duke, but I don't know if they have
St. John's is getting by Duke.
I don't know. I don't know if they have the shooters for it. St. John's, I don't value the conference tournaments as much as most people do. I mean, two weeks ago they lost to UConn by 25, and now they beat UConn in the Big East tourney, and everyone's picking them to the Final Four. I think they're just way overvalued at this point. I know Hopkins has been playing really well. I love Ejiofor, but I don't know if they have the scoring to match up against Duke.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're taking Duke. You mentioned how they lost to UConn by 20 plus a couple weeks ago. Now they go to the Big East tournament. This is why you don't piss off Rick Pitino. He's a man out for revenge himself.
Yeah, well, he better be ready to go for that Northern Iowa team because they're going to slow that game down. So it would not shock me to see them go down early.
Nah. Ejiofor's too good. He's been in Pitino's system 3 years now. He's a veteran guard. And then Ian Jackson, good addition from UNC. Like you said, Bryce Hopkins, great addition from Providence. And those two have really been giving valuable minutes to St. John's this year. And yeah, I mean their shooting's not great, but also if they match up with Duke in the round of 16, Duke's a team that has shown sometimes their shooting can be a little streaky. And I mean, they have Isaiah Evans now, who's really, really getting hot, but we'll see. Caden Boozer, starting point guard. I don't know if that's going to work out against a veteran point guard on Rick Pitino's team.
We got a question from chat. They want to know. Curious to know what y'all's opinion on UConn is. Metrics. Don't like them, but I think they're good enough to get a trouble draw, and it's UConn. Why bet against them in March? Or
Yeah,
get a terrible draw, sorry.
Eric and I were talking about this the other day. It's not like a UConn team we've seen in recent years. Like some of these guys that have been on this UConn team for a few years now are almost have spent too much time there and are regressing a little bit. Like Caravan is just, he used to be really good and now he's kind of just a role player for them, and it's really weird to see. But at the same time, it's UConn, and Dan Hurley is a psychopath, so you never know what's going to happen. I have them going to the round of 16. I think they could be scary down the stretch if they start getting hot, especially after that St. John's loss in the Big East final. They're gonna have something to prove, and Dan Hurley is gonna come out swinging in this tournament. So they could easily make a deep run, or they could get bounced in the Sweet 16 by either St. John's or Duke, whoever matches up with them there.
Yeah. UConn's really dangerous. I think they rolled through the first weekend, especially with UCLA banged up. And I mean, UConn has as high of a ceiling as anyone in this tournament. I mean, early in the season, they smoked Illinois, they beat Florida, they beat some really good teams. And I think you have to value that non-conference schedule. And I think there was a sense of boredom once they get into the Big East play. It seemed like every game they were tied with like Creighton or Marquette with 5 minutes left to go. But I think you have to look back at those early season bigger games, and there is a ceiling to them that they can reach. And you're right, Caravan has been awful. I don't know what happened to him. He peaked in the Maui like 2 years ago. He hasn't been the same since. He's just become the ultimate role player. He's soft. He just stands in the corner. So he's the X factor. If he starts to initiate some offense, I think UConn can make a run. They can get to the Final Four. But I have them running into Michigan State, and I think whoever wins that game is going to go to the Final Four. They'll get past Duke. I like Michigan State quite a bit. As long as Jeremy Fears doesn't kick any more people, if he does not get suspended by the Final Four, I think they can go a long way. So I have Michigan State out of this region beating UConn, but UConn, the ceiling of UConn is as high as anyone.
So you're both pretty down on Duke. Is that Foster injury really taking him down that much?
Yeah, I'm not down on Duke. The Foster injury is huge. It leaves him a freshman running point guard, which I hate in March. I can't have a freshman. Yeah, you can't have a freshman running point in March, which could be a problem if the matchup against St. John's, just because of the turnover battle. But I think Gungba is the bigger one. He's dealing with a foot injury. I mean, he's the rim protector. Without him, I don't see how they go very far. I mean, look what happened in the ACC tournament. Florida State had a shot to win. Virginia played him close. He's a key piece of this team, and without him, I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, and that's a weak power conference. If you're showing signs of weakness there, like I don't know how far you can get. Duke could make it to the Sweet 16 and get bounced, or they could win it all. There's a big margin for them.
Yeah, I agree, but I think the Gungba injury is big. Big men and the feet injuries typically don't go well. The feet injuries kind of linger, so we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think Duke is vulnerable.
Yeah.
So who do you guys officially have coming out of on your bracket, coming out of the East?
So coming out of the East to the Elite Eight, I have St. John's and Connecticut, and I have St. John's winning that game. So I want to see a rematch of the Big East final in the Elite Eight out of that East region, and I think everybody would want to watch that game. It's going to be a bloodbath if that happens.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but I don't think we'll get it. I have Michigan State. I think Izzo gets back to the Final Four, beating Duke. Rematch of 2019. I think Izzo gets him again.
All right, and again, it all depends on if Fears can not kick people. It just blows my mind. He's just like he's channeling the Draymond Green. It just must be a Michigan State thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Draymond. It's like Grayson Allen. I don't know. I don't understand it, but there's
yeah. All right, moving on to the West. Arizona, the number 1 seed, 32-2, won the Big 12 and won the Big 12 tournament. I think they're number 1 most of the year. Purdue, number 2 seed, 27-8, 6 in the Big 10, went on a crazy run to win the Big 12 or Big 10 tournament. About time they show up in March. Usually that's only a November thing, so kind of flipped this year. Gonzaga, the 3rd seed, 30-3, won the WCC and the WCC tournament. 4th, Arkansas, 26-8, 2nd in the SEC, and won the SEC tournament. Conveniently, this is the only side of the bracket that all 4 teams won their tournament, which was kind of interesting. So they got some big names over there. Who do you kind of see having a close game here, or maybe an upset?
Close game, I think, is going to be Utah State Villanova. Villanova's pretty banged up right now coming into the tournament, and if Utah State plays their game, that's a game they could really win. And also for an upset, I have High Point beating Wisconsin by a thin margin. I think that game's going to be an absolute shootout. Those are 2 teams who have great shooting offenses, and it's gonna be a barn burner. That's all it's gonna be, and whoever comes out on top is just gonna be the team who hits more shots.
Yeah, that's an interesting game. I was looking back at High Point's schedule this year. They were favored in every game they played, so it's a bit of a new role for them here this game. So they're going to be big dogs to Wisconsin. You're right; it should be extremely high scoring, and I think this will be a game of runs. I don't really have too strong of an opinion on the line. I think it's about right currently, but definitely a live betting game. I mean, if Wisconsin gets down by 8 early in the first half, I think it's a great spot to jump on them. But I don't see how High Point keeps Wisconsin below 90 points in this game. I really don't. They can't contain the 3-point line. It's a different Wisconsin team this year. They can shoot. They take a lot of threes, and I think they're pretty good. And High Point just has not seen this all year, so I think they're going to be overwhelmed.
With that being said, take High Point plus 10.5. That's good value. It's a good number.
If I was going to take High Point in this game, I would just take the money line. They shoot a ton of threes. Wisconsin shoots a ton of threes. It's going to be a 3-point contest. So it's high variance. I wouldn't mess around with the 10.5. If you're going to take High Point, just take the money line. Maybe first half money line. But I think Wisconsin has too much here.
So last year, Eric, you were very down on the WCC, saying that they had too many teams in there. How do you feel about Utah State this year? Or what are they?
They're not
the West.
Mountain West.
Mountain West. Yeah,
West.
Mountain West. Last year, they had too many teams.
So this is the first year, the Mountain West, and however long I can remember, typically they get like 6 teams in the tournament. You get like Boise, San Diego State, Utah State, and then New Mexico. So typically you're getting 5-6 teams. So luckily this year we only have 2. And Utah State, they have some playmakers, but per some ratings, they are the most inconsistent team in the country. So I don't know what to expect from this team at all. Game in and game out, it changes. So who are they? I don't even know who they're playing. Nova.
Nova, yeah.
This
Banged
is
up Nova. And Hodges just tore his ACL at the beginning of the month too, so he's gone for Nova.
Yeah, I think both of these teams suck. Under, I would take the under. I don't think either of these teams can score. I would take the under. Just yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Utah State for me, their floor is losing game 1. Their ceiling's Sweet 16. Anything could happen with them. You really don't know what you're going to get game to game with them. But I also do think they're a little underseeded at 9. I think just because of their resume, they won their conference tournament, they won their conference in the regular season outright, and they have a top 30 offense, and they're 14th in effective field goal percentage. And I think offense nowadays matters a lot more than defense. Well, maybe not a lot more, but I value offense more than defense because you can scheme up defense and kind of stop some of these teams. But offense is just something you can't teach. And when you have that good of an offense, it's going to be hard to beat you. And Nova doesn't have anything great, in my opinion. Nova's just kind of a meh team.
Yeah, they're both very meh. I guess I lean to Utah State, but it's nothing for me there.
Team that's kind of been quiet this year. We really haven't heard much about them. They've kind of been just in the rankings. Gonzaga jumped up to a 3 seed. How do you feel like they are compared to previous teams? Because we've seen the Gonzaga teams make runs to the finals.
Yeah, it's not a great Gonzaga team. What I was saying with UConn earlier, Gonzaga kind of reminds me of a lot of those traits too. They've had these guys who have been there forever. It seems like Graham Ike, Braden Huff, like these guys have been in college forever, and they've kind of just plateaued where they're at. And Gonzaga, it's it should be no surprise to anybody that they're in a weak conference. I mean, they always run the WCC. That's where they're leaving. And when they went up against Michigan earlier in the year, they got absolutely smoked. So I think the same thing is going to happen in this tournament. As soon as they run into somebody who's a big boy, they're done. They're not going to be able to keep up at all.
Yeah, I love Mark Few. I think he's phenomenal. But yeah, I think they have a pretty easy path to get to the Sweet 16 here. But Braden Huff, he's banged up. I don't think he's going to play in this tournament. So I don't think that's going to be an issue in the first round against Kennesaw, likely the second round against BYU. They don't have the size to really challenge that, to miss Huff. But once you get to the Sweet 16, I think that's going to be a lot. And also Venters, there's a good chance he doesn't play. He's one of their better 3-point shooters. So it's really going to leave their freshman point guard. I'm blanking out his name right now. Mario, I think his first name's Mario. So Mario, he's a freshman point guard. He's been prone to turnovers this year. So it's a good team. Gonzaga typically gets to where they should in the tournament. Mark Few hasn't really overachieved in the tournament, but he doesn't really underachieve. So I think they'll get to the Sweet 16. But yeah, I think the injuries are too much. I mean, they smoked Kentucky, right? So
yeah,
they're a good team. But you're right. They did get blown out to Michigan, but Michigan was blowing out everyone at that time. So Gonzaga's legit. They've flown a bit under the radar this year as well.
Yeah, nobody's talking about them.
No, not at all, which makes me kind of like them. And I wish Huff wasn't hurt, but yeah, I could be convinced to take them over Purdue in the Sweet 16. But it would depend on Huff's health. He's a huge part of that interior defense.
So you guys are saying the Richie Saunders injury for BYU is going to hold him back, because we know the Vance is going to go for 30. He's going to try his heart out because he wants to be that number 1 pick.
Yeah,
So
he's gonna be the number one pick. I think, like, no matter what happens, unless he has an absolute stinker in the tournament and somebody else rises up and jumps him somehow. But I think you'd be an idiot of a GM not to take him number one. But yeah, I have them matching up with Gonzaga in the round of 32, and Gonzaga handling business. Uh, no, not having your point guard in March is just it's detrimental to your team. Like, we've already seen it with BYU after they lost him. They started 16-1, and then they ended up finishing the season 23-11. So after that 16-1 start, they had a 7-10 stretch. Like, they just can't figure things out now, and I just think they're cooked. They'll beat Texas or NC State, whoever wins that playing game, but after that, I think their tournament's over.
Yeah, BYU is interesting. I love DeBonta. I think he's the clear number one pick for whoever gets that. If a GM takes Peterson or Acuff over him, I really would be shocked. But I mean, they played pretty well in the Big 12 tournament without Saunders. But yeah, I love Malcolm Wright. I love DeBonta, but the defense without Saunders, he was a key piece of that. I think Gonzaga is going to be too much for them in that second round. But I do think BYU gets by either Texas or NC State. Both of those teams have just been way too inconsistent for me this year. So I think BYU wins their first game, but Gonzaga is going to be too much.
Yeah, guard play is the most important thing in all of March. And if you don't have elite guard play, you're not going far.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a guy that could carry a team, though, an undermanned team, in this tournament, I do think it is DeBonta. So if you're looking for a long shot to get to the Final Four, maybe that's worth a play. I don't know what the number is. You can probably get BYU 15, 20-1 to get to the Final Four. So maybe, but yeah, I think without Saunders, they're overwhelmed.
I mean, also here in this region, first game matchup, Purdue versus Queens. I've been looking at Purdue 25.5-point favorites, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm going to be betting that spread.
You're taking Purdue?
I think they're going to smoke Queens.
Yeah, I think we can score on Queens. So,
I mean, I think it's a 30+ point game.
Purdue they just got hot at the right time at the end of the year, running through the tournament. Do you think they are able to make the Final Four, maybe, or do you guys have them losing to Gonzaga?
I have them beating Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, and then in the Elite 8 losing to Zona. I don't think Zona is going to be way too hard to beat. They're my champs, so I don't have anybody beating Zona in that region. But Purdue Elite 8, from where they started at the beginning of the year, where things were a little shaky, it would be a great season in my opinion. And Purdue, yeah, like you said, they're coming in hot. They're number one in offense now, and Braden Smith to me is an elite college point guard, and that's exactly what you need. He's a veteran. He makes plays. He hits shots. He can create his own shot. He's a facilitator who makes his teammates better. So him alone is already a game changer for them. And now that they're getting hot, it's just even better. And then the only thing that would scare me a little bit about Purdue is Trey Kaufman-Red. He's a great big for them, but throughout the season, he's been kind of inconsistent. He can have great nights, or he can kind of just disappear on the court sometimes. And if he's been playing like he has been for him, they'll be just fine, and they can make a deep run. But if he kind of disappears like he has this season at points, I don't see them getting past Arizona at all.
Yeah, I think Purdue is a pretty easy path to the Elite Eight here. I don't know who beats them. I think Miami is a little dangerous. They got the athleticism to maybe contain Smith and Lawyer, who aren't the most athletic guards. So I think Miami is a tough matchup for Purdue. but I think eventually Purdue would prevail there. So yeah, I think they get to the Elite Eight quite easily here, to be honest. But yeah, I think they run into Zona, and Zona is just too skilled, too athletic, too big. Yeah, I like Zona quite a bit in this region. One interesting thing on Zona. So their first matchup against Long Island, I know the fins up culture's there. People love it. I saw this on FanDuel today. Arizona to never be trailing in the game is plus 105. I think that's a good play. There's no way Creasa loses the jump ball, so they're going to get the ball first. And even if they don't, Long Island, I mean, they cannot shoot at all. So plus money for Arizona to never not be leading in this game. I think that's a great bet. So I would look at that. But yeah, I think Arizona comes out of this region just too much.
Yeah, they're too hard to stop.
Yeah,
they're on a 9-game win streak coming into this, so they're rolling in hot. They're confident. They know they're the best team. I think they know that because I truly believe they are the best team in this field.
Yeah, I think they're a team you look back 5 years from now and you're like, wow, they really did have 4 NBA like legit NBA players.
Yeah,
I think that's what they are.
Bradley and Burries, I think, is the best backcourt in the country by far.
Yeah. Burries is awesome. I know he's a freshman, but he plays like a senior. He is so poised. It's insane.
Yeah, and then if you want to look at somebody who I think's going to raise their draft stock in this tournament, Koa Pete, I think he's an elite wing. Maybe a little light, but I don't think that's not an issue for him in college. And once he gets to the NBA, he'll put on some more muscle. I've been seeing mocks where he's like in the 10 to 16 range for getting drafted, and I think he's easily going to play himself into being a top 10 pick, maybe even top 5 if he does as good as he does and they go on to win it all.
Yeah. I think they have a difficult path. I mean, there's some teams in this region, Wisconsin, Arkansas. Both of those teams' ceilings are really high. They can escalate to another level. So that does scare me a little bit. But I just think the talent in Arizona is too much. But yeah, there's some potential landmines on that path. I mean, Wisconsin, Arkansas, those teams are legit.
Arkansas doesn't scare me. If I'm an Arizona fan, I'm not afraid of Arkansas. They're a good team, and Acuff has been going crazy. But like we've said, like he's a freshman guard. You can't really rely on that too much in March. You know, this is his first time being in the NCAA tournament. Like he could easily just disappear.
Yeah,
I don't think he will, but
yeah. What do you think of the first round against Hawaii?
I think they'll smoke Hawaii. This is classic John Calipari. He divorced Kentucky. He's with his new wife. He got hair transplants. He got a tanning bed and a hot tub. He's eating healthy, and now he wants to show off. So he'll make a run to the Sweet 16, I think. But once they run into Arizona, I think they're cooked. Yeah, and he's always made questionable coaching decisions in crunch time, and that matters so much when these games end up being so close in March. Like, you have to be an elite coach. He's a great coach, elite recruiter, but not an elite coach.
Yeah. That first round matchup against Hawaii, that's one of the games I'm most interested in. Hawaii's defensive scheme favors the way Arkansas plays so much. Hawaii refuses to play any help defense, and I mean Acuff would kill that. So I don't know how Hawaii's going to adjust. I think they have to go zone. So I think we'll see some zone out of Hawaii. And I mean Calipari's seen zone in the tournament before. Like I think he see it against Oakland, right? We all know how that went.
Yeah, but
so I
wouldn't be shocked if Hawaii somehow made an upset, but I just don't see it happening. Also, that game is at 3:25 Central, I believe. Like, is Hawaii going to be awake?
Well, they didn't go back home after winning the WAC. They went straight from Vegas to San Diego, so they'll be awake, or Portland, wherever it is.
Well, now I have some questions about the transcripts. I need to see these grades and if they're doing their homework assignments.
It's spring break. So I don't know. Arkansas scares me a little bit in that first round. It's a young team after they just won the SEC tournament. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they can bounce back. We'll see if Cal can regroup in 3 days. I don't know. I think it could be tough. I think Hawaii is going to have to go to a zone. I don't think they can play man-to-man against Acuff. And Arkansas just been shooting so well. Like Brazil's like a 25%
Brazil came out of
shooter.
nowhere.
And they shoot 70% against Vanderbilt. I mean, sure, if they do that every game, they're going to win the entire tournament. But I don't think that continues. So if Hawaii goes to zone, I think they can hang around. I think 14 is too much. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's one thing I learned being a Kentucky fan is John Calipari hates playing against zone.
Yeah.
It's his kryptonite.
Yeah. It's because he's not a good in-game coach. He can't adjust.
No. He runs so many dribble drive type of plays, like, and against zone when guys can just collapse in the paint, like that's just not going to work. They're gonna have to shoot well if Hawaii is playing zone, and I don't know if they can do that. They have been doing that, but I feel like a lot of the pressure is going to be on Acuff because he's the one guy who can like create and hit shots.
Yeah, if there's a prop for Acuff total shots in this game, I would take the over. I don't care what the number is because if they don't play zone, if they go man to man, he's gonna shoot every possession.
What do you guys see as the best value pick for the first round in this side of the bracket?
Best value,
like betting wise.
I disagree with Eric. I think High Point plus 10.5 is too many points. I think they have the shot making ability to keep things close with Wisconsin if Wisconsin is to go on and win. But I also think High Point's going to win the game. But just to be safe, like 10.5 is too much for me. Like I'm taking High Point plus 10.5 all day.
Yeah, I lean Hawaii. I think 14 is a little bit too much. It's a little inflated, but yeah, that's where I would look.
Also, Purdue, like I said earlier, Purdue 25.5 point favorites. Well, just take it. I think that's an easy cash right there. They're going to win that game by 30 plus.
Yeah. Team total overs, Purdue. Yeah, I don't hate it.
All right. Figuring you guys have Arizona taking that side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Moving down to the South. Defending champs, Florida, the number 1 seed. 26-7, won the SEC. Lost to Vandy in the semifinals of the tournament. Number 2 seed, Houston, 28-6. Second in the Big 12, lost to Arizona in the finals. Illinois, 24-8, fourth in the Big 10, lost to Wisconsin in the quarterfinals. And Nebraska was the 4 seed, second in the Big 10, lost to Purdue in the quarterfinals. We have a rematch of the finals last year in this bracket, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, this side of the bracket, I think, can get a little more chaotic than some of the others. I don't have Florida making it out of the South, personally. I think they've been a great team all year, but they're getting really, really cold from beyond the arc, and that's just not what you need to have happening in March. Like, is that just a little short stretch of that, or is that actually who they are in February and January when they were shooting well, or was that like an anomaly? Because during the rest of the year and the beginning of the season, they weren't shooting well at all, and then they have this 2-month stretch at the beginning of the year where they're shooting really well, and now things are kind of coming back down again. Yeah, I don't know. Guard play, like I said, is key, and they have an elite front court with Howe, Condon, and Chinyelu, but their backcourt is really streaky. Javen Lee and Boogie Flan, like those guys could go off one game and then kind of be really quiet the next game. And personally, I don't think either one of them are elite, and you need elite guard play. I don't think Florida's getting out of this. I do have them rematching with Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16, and I think they'll get revenge. But down the line, I think they're going to run into Houston, and it's just going to be too much for them if they're not making their shots. And Houston's a team that can just shut them down.
Yeah, this region's really hard for me. I don't particularly like any of these teams. I don't like Florida. I don't like Vanderbilt. I don't like Nebraska. I don't like Houston that much. So this is tough. If you're going to get a chaotic region where, you know, we've seen in the past some lower seed makes a run, I think this is the one. Particular because the top teams in this region are from the SEC. Vanderbilt got underseeded. So I think that is part of the problem with this region. But then you look at Florida as well. I look at the SEC as a whole. Their non-conference schedule against some of the more elite teams, some of the teams in the tournament, it was horrendous. I mean, the SEC got dominated night in and night out by the Big 12, the Big 10.
No SEC slander.
They did. I mean, Kentucky got smoked by Louisville. They got smoked by Gonzaga. And
well, yeah, we have a coaching problem.
Yeah, well, and then you look at Florida. When did Florida finally get hot? They got hot during SEC play. They lost all of their big games in the non-conference. I mean, Christ, Vanderbilt went undefeated in the non-conference, but they didn't play anyone. So I'm really down on the SEC, and I don't want to pick Florida or Vanderbilt to come out of this region, but I'll probably end up going with Houston. But
yeah, that's why I took Houston. I just also want to see Florida lose. Todd Golden is such a prick. I hate him so much.
Yeah, I mean, they should have lost last year to UConn. They should have lost a few games in the tournament last year. I don't know how they won it all, but I'm really looking to fade the SEC this tournament. They have the most teams in the bracket. I don't think any of them get to the Final Four. Elite Eight maybe, just because Vanderbilt and Florida are in the same quad. But yeah, the SEC I think is extremely overrated.
Yeah, and also, I was gonna say, look out for like any type of Cinderella if you in this bracket or in this region of the bracket. Look at VCU. I think that's a team that's going to handle business against North Carolina. Especially no Caleb Wilson. I think Hubert Davis is not a good coach at all. I think VCU could take that.
I think the Caleb Wilson is being a little blown out of proportion.
I know he's their best player.
He's their best player, but I think there's some value. I mean, VCU, come on. They're in the A10. I watched their A10 game against Dayton, the championship. They tried to blow that game so many times. And Dayton was like 3 of 14 from the free throw line down the stretch. It was insane. They tried to choke. VCU, every year they get in the tournament, and they're always a trendy pick because of their press defense. And then they always get blown out. It happened last year. I think it's going to happen again. North Carolina is... They're in like the 95th percentile against a press defense, and they smoked Virginia this year. And you know whose Virginia coach was the coach of last year? VCU. So it's a really similar profile. This is one of my favorite bets of the first round. I think Carolina just blows out VCU.
I got VCU money line plus 116.
That's a trendy pick.
They're only 2.5 point underdogs for a reason. I think the desert knows. The desert knows.
I think there's some value. I really do. I think VCU are frauds.
Well, going back to what you said, we'll talk about it later, but I think Virginia are frauds too. Virginia's been on my fraud watch list all year. But anyways, VCU I think is handling business against North Carolina, but then Illinois is going to be too much for them in the round of 32. Illinois in this region is such a weird team. I don't know what to think of them. Like, they're the tallest team in college. They have a great offense. And it's just their defense is just so bad. I don't know why. They can't seem to figure anything out. Their last 10 games, they have 5 losses, and granted, 4 of those were in overtime, so they're still keeping it close, but Illinois is a team that relies way too much on their offense and can't get crucial stops when it matters down the stretch. And I have them going to the Sweet 16, but once they run into Houston, who's going to kind of shut their offense down a little bit and allow themselves to get in transition and make their own shots, I think Illinois' run ends there. I have Houston taking this region. I just don't really see anybody who's better than Houston all around on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, no, this region sucks. I liked Illinois all year, but I don't know. There's something about them. They're just not physical. They're very soft. I think teams have finally found out a way to slow down Wagler. They've gotten a little physical with him, and that's kind of slowed them down a little bit. So if they do match up with Houston, that's going to be a problem. They're going to get physical with Wagler, and they're going to contain him.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like Illinois, they're the tallest team in college, so usually on offense they're going to have their way at the rim, but that's not.
They don't even go to the rim. That's the problem.
But I'm saying, like, inside in the paint, like Houston's just not going to allow that to happen. Houston's going to meet them inside every time.
Yeah, Illinois just does not utilize their size enough. There's something wrong with Underwood. When you get in March, he just loses his mind. I don't know what it is. And there's also some internal rumors I've heard about Stojakovic potentially wanting to enter the portal. So I don't know. There's something wrong with this Illinois team. So yeah, I agree. I probably have Houston coming out of this just because they're the least of all evils. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like any of these teams.
I've been telling all my Illinois fan friends, Underwood's been on the hot seat for years in my mind. He's never going to get over the hump in March.
No, I don't think so.
He changes like how he makes his team and his play style every season, and I just don't get it. He's never going to do well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. If this region goes chaotic, I think this is Randy Bennett's best team in a very long time. I know St. Mary's has always kind of been that March darling. This might be their year. If this region just totally blows up, I think St. Mary's can make a run as a long shot. So maybe look for that. They've got a 7'3" guy, McKeever inside. Gives them good rim protection, and they can shoot this year. They're top 15 nationally in 3-point percentage, which is something they've struggled with in the past. A lot of teams like to play help defense on them. They trap guys, and they don't have the shooters outside. But this year they do, and they do have some size inside. So if you're looking for a long shot, maybe look at St. Mary's.
Yeah, I agree there. At times during the year when you watch St. Mary's, if you didn't know any better, you might think they're the best shooting team in the country.
Yeah, phenomenally coached. One other quick one I have on this in this region, I think Houston in the first round against Idaho. The Big Sky hasn't won a tournament game in 20 years. So Houston, Calvin Sampson typically blows teams out in the first round. Look for Houston. Look for Idaho team total unders. Just anything Houston. They're going to win by 30.
Yeah, there's more money in oil than potato, folks.
There is. Price of oil is really high right now if you did not get in on it. So
I think you guys upset the chat. Charles J said Illinois Final Four. So
maybe, but they're soft. They're soft, and their team's checked out.
They're the weirdest team.
Yeah,
I don't get it. They'll go up by like 20 points and then all of a sudden blow it and play zero defense.
Like lately too, they've been trying to run the offense through Wagler. Like you have all these guys who have been in college 3+ years, and like, are they incapable of running the offense for you? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. One other note: Iowa Clemson, great matchup. Extremely well coached teams. I think the winner of this game can challenge Florida. If you're going to take an 8-9 over a 1, this is definitely the spot. Sturts is going to play 40 minutes every game for Iowa, so look out for that. They're dangerous. They force turnovers. And Florida does not have the elite guard play to neutralize Iowa. So maybe look for that.
Yeah. And then I guess a player to watch in this region would be, for me personally, I love watching him. Kingston Flemings, freshman point guard on Houston, starts. He's by far their best player. He's 50% on twos, and then he shoots around 40% from three. And he's going to be a top 5 pick. He could play himself into a top 3 pick. Because there's going to be so much variance with this draft, and I think there's going to be a lot of guys who move up and down boards throughout this tournament just because of how deep this freshman class is. But that's a kid who's going to be very, very good in the NBA.
Yeah, he's smooth.
So you guys are both seeing Houston coming out of this side of the bracket then?
Yeah. Gun to my head, I'm taking Houston, but if you want to have some fun, go St. Mary's.
Yeah, if you want to have, you go St. Mary's. If you want to have fun, go Nebraska. Ride the Hoy ball wave.
Yeah, they're a volatile team. Yeah, they could make a run.
All right. As a Bulls fan, I'm all for Fred Hoiberg actually winning something for once. So, all right, let's jump over to the last side, Midwest. Michigan, number 1 seed, 31-3. Our first in the Big Ten. Lost to Purdue in the finals. 2 seed, Iowa State, 27-7, third in the Big 12. Lost to Arizona in the semifinals. 3 seed, Virginia, 29-5, second in the ACC, lost to Duke in the finals. And Alabama, 23-9, second in the SEC, lost to a terrible Ole Miss team in the quarterfinals. Also, Alabama, good luck. Some legal issues going on with that team.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we want to get into that, I'll get into that straight away. So, I have Hofstra upsetting Bama. Do I think it's like a for sure thing? No. I'm just trying to bank on the fact that this Alabama team coming in is going to have a lot of outside distractions now. Every person in the media is going to be questioning Nate Oates about what's going on with Aiden Holloway, and it's just going to piss him off so much. It's going to be funny to see that. And it seems like every day it's just getting worse and worse for Aiden Holloway. And I just think Bama might be coming in a little rattled from this. And for that reason, I have Hofstra upsetting Bama. And also I have for that game, I'll be taking Hofstra and Bama under 159.5. Hofstra plays so slow, and Bama doesn't. But I just think there's not going to be like that many points scored by Hofstra. Bama could put 100 on them, and Hofstra might only score like 45. That could easily happen. I think that line is way too high. They have set at the total.
What's the total?
159.5.
So they're thinking 85, 75, right? Yeah. So yeah, Bama, if Hofstra can hold Bama to under 80, that's the key to this game. Bama is 1-4 this year when they don't score 80 points. So that's what Hofstra needs to do. Now, I love Hofstra's coach, Speedy Claxton. He's awesome.
Yeah, Speedy Claxton's sick.
Yeah, as an underdog, he is phenomenal. He covers like 65% of his games as a dog. So I agree. Put that on the agree board. I like Hofstra as well. It's a really high variance game just because Bama shoots so many threes. And yeah, you mentioned the trouble with the law that Bama has. I mean, Holloway, I don't know. I assume he's not playing, right?
No chance.
There's no chance. I mean,
he got kicked off campus. If the chat doesn't know, he got caught with 2 pounds of weed.
Yeah.
So that's a felony.
They found he was arrested. He had a pound on him, and then they went to his apartment or wherever house, found another pound, And I think something shady's going on there with the law enforcement in Alabama. I think they're kind of downplaying this a little bit. I don't think there's a coincidence that he was caught with that he was found to have 2.1 pounds of weed when 2.2 would make it a kilo and require a mandatory minimum sentence for him in prison.
Mhm.
He was 0.1 pounds under.
I don't
So
know. I think that may have been a strategic play by him. I respect that.
maybe, but he also didn't affix his tax stamp. So if you're gonna have 2 pounds of weed on you, make sure you affix your tax stamp to it.
Is weed legal in Bama? I don't even know.
No, not a
No,
Absolutely
chance.
I assume not. But okay. Well, so I assume he's not playing unless Vincent Gambiti can get down to Alabama in the next day. He's probably not playing, or they get the same judge that ruled on the Bediako initially. So
Well,
he's probably not playing.
that judge was making that ruling after the NCAA's attorneys were out to lunch. So if they send people down, he's going to have to play it strategically.
Yeah. So even with Holloway, I still like Hofstra in this game. Cruz Davis on Hofstra is one of my favorite players in the entire sport. He's so versatile. He can drive, he can shoot. He's awesome. People are going to learn that name in this tournament. Cruz Davis. Remember the name. It's a cool name. Cruz Davis. Multi-level scorer. And they also have a freshman guard, Preston Edmond, who banked in the most insane shot to send them to this tournament. Which did cost me a bet, but that's okay. He's been coming out hot down the stretch, so that gives him some balance with Davis in the backcourt. So this team has the guard play to contend with Bama, and losing Holloway, I think that's really going to hurt them in the transition game. It's going to put a lot more pressure on Phylon. It's going to hurt their spacing. Hofstra is not going to have to help as much on defense, so Bama's not going to get those open looks. Holloway's a 40% shooter. That's a huge loss. So I think Hofstra can hang. Speedy Claxton, awesome. I think he keeps this a close game. So yeah, definitely look to take Hofstra here plus the points.
Yeah, and one last thing too, losing him, like Eric said, 40% for 3-point shooter. Bama is a team whose offense relies so heavily on the three, and so many times this season they just haven't been able to hit shots consistently at all. So if that's one of these games, there's no reason Hofstra can't stay in it and pull off the upset.
Yeah, Hofstra's really good on defense. They play a real good drop coverage on pick and roll. So they force teams into a lot of long mid ranges, which is kind of Bama's kryptonite. They don't take those shots, but they're going to be open. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, definitely Hofstra here. Put that on the agree board.
Now, Austin, this is the bracket with Kentucky. Are they going to win their first game? There's a lot of talk of Santa Clara taking this game.
There are a lot of losers and haters out there saying Santa Clara is going to win this game, and they are dead wrong. It's Kentucky. Our football coach, Will Stein, is on the record saying, if you're scared, go to church. I'm not scared. Kentucky should win this game. I mean, I know people say, oh, they shoot a lot of threes, they hit a lot of threes. They have the same 3-point percentage as Kentucky. Granted, they take more threes, but all their metrics are pretty much the same, and they're in a weaker conference. And also, they've just not been able to beat any good teams this year. I mean, they beat up on their conference, but that's kind of expected when you have kind of this fringe top 30 team. They couldn't beat St. Louis, they couldn't beat New Mexico, they couldn't beat Arizona State or Loyola Chicago. Like Kentucky's, I'd say, is better than all four of those teams. So if you can't beat those teams, like I just don't see how you could beat Kentucky. They lost to Gonzaga 3 times this year. And granted, Gonzaga smoked Kentucky this year, but that was during a dark period of time when Mark Pope was very depressed and going through it and not talking to media. But I think it'll be a fun game to watch. Santa Clara has this freshman, Alan Graves. He's a forward. and his all-around game is just crazy good for a freshman. 6'9", he hits the glass hard and just eats rebounds. As a big, he has elite passing traits, I think, and he can finish inside. He can shoot. He can hit middies too. Like he's a 3-level scorer, and not that he relies on shooting so much. He more of an inside player, but if you leave him open or give him time to shoot from long range, he's hitting his shots. He's only taken 88 three-point attempts this year, but he's shooting 40% from three as a big. So Kentucky just needs to either focus on him and shut him down and let everyone else just kind of do their thing, or just accept the fact that he's going to have a good game and just focus on shutting everything else down. But I just don't see a world where Kentucky loses this game. Vegas had them as a 2-point favorite going into this, and I think that's just ridiculous. I think it'll be a close game, but in the end, the last 10 minutes or so, Kentucky's going to just start pulling away. They just have better guys. There's more talent on the Kentucky team. Kentucky's not a great team, and I think they'll lose in the next round to Iowa State. Like, that's not a game I feel good about, but there's no reason they should lose to Santa Clara. And if they do, it's an absolute failure.
Yeah, I agree. We're going with the Cats. C-A-T-S, cats here. Colby agrees with the pick. Typically, if Santa Clara were to win this game, it's because they're the older team. But Kentucky, Kentucky's older. So I think Kentucky has enough here. Santa Clara likes to go to they like to trap you on defense. I don't think that'll phase Kentucky too much here. I think that
Aberdeen's too good for that to affect him.
Yeah, I think from a betting angle, I think the number's about right, 3.5. If you want to play this game, I would really focus, since this is on Friday, I would look at that Thursday game against St. Mary's and Texas A&M. I would see how that game plays out, and maybe during the game you can get an opinion on the SEC versus the West Coast Conference, and maybe tie that into a bet on this game. But I do think Kentucky is too much here. I think they win. I wouldn't lay the 3.5, but I think they're too much experience.
If you're gonna bet anything for that game, I'd say take Otega Owe 20+ points. I think that'll be a guarantee.
Okay.
Now there's a really polarizing team in this side of the bracket with Miami, Ohio. Do they win their play-in game? And if they do they beat Tennessee?
I honestly don't know if they even beat SMU. I know they're a good team. Theoretically speaking, they're a good team, a great team. But their schedule was just so weak. Like, I can't tell how good they are, if their schedule is what made them good, or if they're actually just a good team and they ran through that schedule because they're a good team. Like, SMU, I think, could easily beat them in the play-in. And if they do get in, I think Tennessee smokes them. Tennessee's just way more athletic. They got bigger guys. They have more talent. They have a better coach. Like, this whole Cinderella thing and Miami fans crying is just so annoying. Like, play better teams and you wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't have been opposed to them not even getting in the tournament at all.
Yeah, better coach with Tennessee. I might not go that far because Rick Barnes, we know how he does in March, but yeah, I agree. In the first, the first four, I don't know. Both of these 11s shouldn't be in, to be honest. Texas NC State is a much better matchup on the 11 play-in. So SMU defense is just horrendous. They can't guard the rim at all. So I think there's an avenue for Miami of Ohio to hang in the first four. I think they're like getting 7 or 8 points. I would definitely take that. They're only 40 miles from home. They'll be fired up for this game. So I I think they either keep it close or they beat SMU. But yeah, once they get to Tennessee, I mean, come on. Why is Tennessee a 6 seed? Number one. And Nate Ament is not going to lose to SMU or Miami of Ohio. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I have Tennessee going to my Elite Eight. I think they can really make a run here.
Yeah, I think they have a nice path. I think Virginia is a little bit overvalued after their run. I can't think of Virginia's point guard name, number 30, but whenever he touches the ball, the offense just clogs up. He gets the ball in his hands. He stands there for 5 seconds. He doesn't do anything with it. There's no ball movement. So yeah, I think Tennessee can get by Virginia. I agree.
Yeah, Tennessee is a very, very good defensive team.
Yeah.
And UVA is coming from that weak ACC, and UVA has either lost or really struggled to teams who are good this year. And when you take that into account of the ACC not being as strong as some of these other conferences, like I just don't see Virginia winning that matchup. And Virginia is a team who's very reliant on their freshmen, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Like these freshmen can just disappear in these games.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, Virginia got run out by Butler in the non-con, so take that for what it's worth. I think Tennessee rolls to the Sweet 16, where eventually they fall to Iowa State. So,
see, I think so. I think Iowa State is like a 50-50 with Kentucky, and that's no bias. I think Kentucky's path that they got as a Kentucky fan, I was happy with. I think that's the easiest path they could have gotten with the 10 seeds. Like I would not have wanted to play UCF, and then like obviously we can't play A&M and Mizzou because the same conference. But Iowa State, if we had to play any 2 seed, is the 1-2 seed I would want to play. I would,
really?
yeah. I think Houston would smoke Kentucky. I think UConn could smoke Kentucky. Like Purdue, they would smoke Kentucky. Like Iowa State's the one where I think you can kind of maybe sneak a win there.
Iowa State beat Purdue by like 30 in Purdue, right?
Yeah, but Iowa State's falling off at the end of it. Like I just don't think
falling off. They lost to Arizona by 2 on a buzzer beater.
Yeah, but then they've also lost to BYU and Toppin or Texas Tech without Toppin at the end of the season. Like I think those are like bad losses.
They are.
I don't think they're not clicking like they were in the middle of the season.
No, my thing with Iowa State is I think Iowa State has as high of a ceiling as anyone in the country. I think they can win the whole thing. I really do. My concern with them is outside of Momcilovic, the outside shooting. I don't know if it's there. I mean, he's shooting 50% from 3 on an insane volume. So if he gets cold, it could be a problem. But I think that they can win this region. I really do. I think they can match up with Michigan. I think they can come out here. So,
well, I forgot to mention this earlier too, but as far as guys who have kind of increased their shooting percentages and the rate they're hitting them at, I saw a video today of the basketballs they have for the tournament, and they look like, again, that they're overinflated. These balls are bouncing 10 feet in the air when guys lightly dribble them. So some of these teams who are good at shooting or have good shooters, I think are gonna just really struggle. I mean, they do anyways every year just because the ball's different. And then now we have this controversy where balls are getting overinflated. They're really not measuring the PSI. Like that's a legit thing that's going to affect some of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Physics start to come in play.
Do you guys see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar leading St. Louis over Georgia?
Absolutely. Take SLU plus 116.
116, is that what it is right now?
That's it. Yeah, it's what it was today.
Yeah, I might jump on that now. Again, I'm looking to fade the SEC as much as possible.
Georgia's such a beatable team.
They are. They got really hot in the last month from three. I think they're like 45% from three in the last month. That's why they're 8 or 9 seeds. But yeah,
Mike
I-
White
I-
is just not a good coach.
no, I think SLU has too many guys here. They have too many shooters. I agree. I think they win this game.
All right, Michigan. They were hot all year. Had a couple losses at the end of the year. How do you think they are going to do? You think they could make it to the Final Four, maybe win it all, or
Yeah, I
kind of
have
bad,
them
or-
in my Final Four, no doubt. They're the best defensive team in the country. They have a top 8 offense. No LJ Kaysen for them hurts, but they have a really easy path in my opinion, to get to the Final Four. Like, I'm assuming UMBC is going to win that play-in. They're going to roll UMBC. St. Louis is going to be a cool story. We're going to get to see Robbie Avila, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but that's where their run ends against Michigan. And then Texas Tech, if Toppin hadn't torn his ACL and was healthy going into this tournament, I think that would be a game where maybe Michigan could lose without having Kaysen, but without Toppin, I think Michigan's still going to edge out that win. They're just the better team all around. And Dusty May, there's no denying that he's a great coach. Then I have him going to the Elite Eight, where I have Tennessee going too, and I think that's where Tennessee's run ends. And yeah, it's just gonna. This is Michigan's region to lose, in my opinion. There's not a better team than them, or a team that can really compete with them in my mind here. Maybe if Iowa State gets hot and keeps going, like Iowa State could for sure test them, but at the end of the day, I still think Michigan's just a better team. Mara is one of the best bigs in the country, and his passing ability is just crazy. Watching him, seeing what he can do as a 7-footer with the ball, it's mesmerizing actually. Like the dimes he throws.
Yeah, I agree. I think Michigan comes out of this region. Iowa State would be the potential team they lose to. I think in order to beat Michigan, you need to get Mara in foul trouble. I don't think Iowa State is capable of that. They don't really have the size down low to pick up some cheap fouls on Mara. So as much as I want to pick Iowa State to beat Michigan, I don't think I can do that. So I'm going to take Michigan. I know they limp down the stretch, but just too much. Mara is insane. He allows him to play for round 1, which is key in March. So
I don't mind when a team loses like Michigan did. I mean, losing the Big Ten final, getting that loss right before the tournament. I really don't mind when that happens to a team. Like sometimes a team needs that, you have a little maybe a little extra chip on your shoulder now. You kind of got that loss out of the way, and you can really just lock back in and reassess things after that loss.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I wish they would have lost to Ohio State in their first game just to give them that much more rest. But no, I think Cadeau's enough. I think him and Mara, that duo, that'll be enough to get him to the Final Four.
Yeah,
and yeah,
and
yeah.
it pains me because Michigan fans, whether in person or on social media, are maybe the most insufferable fan base of all time.
Well, I got 2 Michigan teams in my Final Four, so it's going to be a lot of Michigan. A lot of Michigan, a lot of Big 12.
So who do you guys have winning it all then?
I have Arizona. So on the on that side of the bracket, it's going to be for me the Final Four: Arizona versus Michigan. Those 2 ones I think are a sure thing to get there. And Arizona's just too talented. They just have too much, and Michigan will hang around in that game, but I can't see anyone beating Arizona. And then on the other side, I have St. John's making a deep run to the Final Four. I just I was awestruck by that Big East final. And I think Rick Pitino is he's a serial winner. Everywhere he goes, he just wins. And I have them matching up against Houston for that Final Four, and I have St. John's winning that too. And I have the St. John's Arizona final with Arizona coming out on top. I think that's where St. John's run will end. And I have Arizona probably like maybe winning by maybe double digits and somewhere in the teens maybe. But I just don't see anybody beating Arizona. They're too good. And their freshmen are good. Like Koa Pete, like he does not look like a freshman.
Yeah, I've got Zona over Michigan on the right side of the bracket. I think Carissa can match up with Mara. On the left side, I don't like the left side, so give me Michigan State. And then I got Arizona. I got Arizona over Michigan State.
Wow, Michigan State in the final.
I don't like the left side of the bracket, so yeah, give me Michigan State, and then give me Arizona, which would be the first team west of the Mississippi River to win, and I don't know years. So I don't know.
It's like the last 20 champions have all been east of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Gold. The price of gold is at an all-time high, so gold rush, I guess, out west. It makes sense. Give me Arizona.
All right. Do you see anybody jumping their draft stock up during this tournament?
Personally, I think I've been singing his praises all night, but Koa Pete, like the mocks I've seen, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, he's a little undersized at his position that he plays, but you can slot him in as a small forward in the NBA, and he'll be just fine and be able to do the same exact thing. And having him outside of the top 10 is just baffling to me. If I had a top 5 pick, let's say if I had the 5th pick, I'm drafting Koa Pete if a wing is a position of need for my team. He's just so good. Everywhere everybody else is kind of in the range of getting drafted, like in mocks where they should be. Another guy that could raise his draft stock if Acuff keeps going on this tear, there's going to be a team who puts him up in their draft board and takes a chance at him.
Yeah, for me, it's on Arizona. Also, I think it's Burries. He's got a little Devin Booker in his game. I saw the last mock. He was mocked at 10. I think that has room to go up. I think he's just so skilled off the ball, getting open, creating shots for himself. I think he can crack that top 7. So I think he can move up. So that would be my pick to move up in the draft. And to move down, I would pick Wagler on Illinois. I think if they get into a game against Houston, I think they see his side where he's a little soft when he gets a little more physical defense on him. So I could see him drop. Yeah, I think Wagler was mocked like 5 or 6 in the mocks. Burries was about 10. So I would flip those two after this tournament.
Okay. We do have a final for the first playing game. Howard did beat UMBC, so they will be playing against Michigan.
That's an even easier game, I think, now.
That I cannot say that changes my opinion on Michigan getting to the Final Four.
All right. I guess any final thoughts? What games are you, I guess, looking to bet your first round, like your best bets? I know we kind of went over them, but
yeah. So just to go back over USF, that's a surefire bet. You have to take USF money
line. Don't mess with the spread. Money line.
Yeah, go money line there. If they're plus money, you have to take them. And I think honestly, take them now because I think a lot of people are going to start getting on that, and that line's going to move. You might be getting your best odds right now.
It is plus 190 right now on FanDuel.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it ends at like plus 175 around there. I think a lot of people are going to start jumping on that. What else do we say? Hawaii, Eric was saying Hawaii spread. That's one that you could maybe take. Purdue minus 25.5. That's free money in my mind. There's just no way Purdue doesn't beat it by 30 plus, like I said. What else did I like? Oh yeah, Hofstra, Bama under 159.5. I like that under.
How do you feel about the money line for that game? That is 580 right now.
Oh, I don't. You could sprinkle a little bit if you want to, because I mean, Hofstra could. I have them winning that game, but it's not something I feel like overly confident about. Whereas USF, I feel like that's a no-brainer that they're going to win that game. But Hofstra is very capable of winning that game. So maybe if you want to put like half a unit on Hofstra money line,
Yeah,
why not?
Sprinkle the money line. First half, full game, sprinkle it.
Yeah, I'll be taking Kentucky spread. If it's jumped, what is it, 3.5 now? I think they beat them by like 8, 9. I think they'll start running away at the end of the game. Kentucky's just too athletic for them. And then VCU money line. I just don't believe in North Carolina at all. VCU plus 116. I'm hopping all over that. And then we just mentioned SLU plus 116. I'm taking that all day. Georgia's not good enough to beat SLU.
All right. Well,
All right.
Oh, did you have some other bets?
Let me just run down mine.
Okay, go for it.
Siena first half. I won't give reasoning. Just Siena first half. South Florida. UCLA. Miami of Ohio in the play-in. If you can get 7 or 8 there. We didn't cover this game, but Akron. Akron has 5 guys that can shoot. They're athletic. They have a great tournament coach. They can go zone. Tech without Toppin is really fallen off. Christian Anderson, it's kind of become their star, but now he has a groin injury. So I think Akron has 5 guys. They're very, they're extremely athletic. They can hang. So Akron. We mentioned Hofstra. Give me Vanderbilt. Houston. North Carolina rolls. Arizona to never trail in the game. We discussed that one plus money. Hawaii, and yeah, those are my first round bets.
I'm looking at right now. Wright State is plus 17.5. I know what my thoughts are on that. I don't know about you, Eric, but Wright State plus 17.5 is not that crazy to me. I think they can hang around with Virginia for a good portion of that game.
Eric, were those money line or spread bets?
Those are all spreads. I would take USF money line. I would sprinkle Hofstra money line, and I'd probably sprinkle Akron money line as well. But everything else spread.
All right. All right. That's March Madness. Hopefully it's better than last year. It was super chalky last year. It seems like it's kind of going to be the same thing, but Austin has some faith in St. John's 5C going to the finals. So we'll see if that happens. I guess, do you guys have anything that you want to promote or where people can find you?
Nothing to promote, but if you do hit any of our bet suggestions, I am taking tariffs this year. So you can find my Venmo at Austin Havalera, all lowercase. So I'm expecting 10% of those winnings on my hits.
10%.
Hey, times are tough, man. The tariff
Steep.
tax.
That's steep. For me, I don't know, LinkedIn, if you want to connect, that's about it.
All right. I normally do a Bulls podcast with 2 other co-hosts. So if you're interested in hearing us talk about the Bulls and how they suck, I guess, but it's fun to watch. We have episodes every 2 weeks, every other Tuesday. So Horns Over Hoops. If you want to buy merch too, denzelrange.com. Shout out Denzel Valentine. Michigan State legend.
Yeah, MSU guy.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks for joining us. Hopefully these bets pay out, and Austin will be coming for you with those tariffs. So thanks for
I
joining
want
us.
it all.
Go T-Wolves.
Go Cats.